Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Cheryl's Kitchen. And again, I'm recording in the kitchen. My name is Charlie Niner. I'm your host. I also write and produce. This is a one-man operation, by the way. My subjects always deal with dark periods in history that have a lot of violence and traumatic incidents. So viewer discretion is advised. You see and hear this all the time. You're bombarded with it. Nations use it. Governments of all types use it. Corporations use it. Religions use it. Even we as individuals can use it. Politicians use it all the time, especially during an election campaign or during times of crisis. Nations indulge in it all the time, both internally and externally. Propaganda. Every nation uses it. Call it what you will. Disinformation, fake news, which is outright lying. You've seen the mudslinging by politicians every campaign. Corporate advertising is tiresome, but they use it for one reason, and it's because it works. Religions propagandize their messages. For instance, the Roman Catholic Protestant split, or the Sunni Shia split in Islam. What I'm really going to focus on, though, is the negative use of propaganda. You know the kind that plays on our emotions, our feelings, our suspicions, our prejudices and biases and anxieties that we all have. A disclaimer here, I do not support nor condone any one of these views, but they have to be shown so people can understand how it works. Some of it is very offensive, but learning from history is one thing humanity hasn't done too well. So I hope somebody learns something from it. Propaganda has the potential to unite and divide. Propaganda can be internal or external, to control the nation's population or to externally exert influence over another nation. Kind of like the US does to us a lot, and Russia and China are doing to everybody else now. The propaganda used may be partially true, only telling one side of the story. The propaganda also may be an outright lie or a series of lies. So let's use it. Let's see what uses we can use our propaganda for. One of them is to unite a nation, to unite a segment of that population by elevating that demographic status of that particular demographic. The concept of pure Aryan race in Germany in World War II was a point of indoctrination, and I'll use that as an example. So what they're doing is say the Aryan race is the best race in the world. People buy into that. A second use is to ostracize a segment of the population. I'm going to use something that was developed in the 1890s by Tsar Nicholas II's secret police, the Okhrana. It's called the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, and it was used as propaganda to disenfranchise and ostracize the Jews in Russia. The Nazis resurrected it in World War II, or prior to World War II, to ostracize the Jews as well. We today know it's a huge lie, but some segments of our society cling to this fallacy and continue to believe in it. Another example of ostracizing a particular portion of the population is Stalin and Lenin's continually blaming the kulaks, the landowners in Russia, for all their problems. Another use is to elevate a socioeconomic class or ostracize a socioeconomic class. The proletariat, the hard-working blue-collar class. And then there's the bourgeoisie, the evil capitalists, landowners, business people, bankers, manufacturers, etc., the poor and the rich. The only problem is there, who decides who's rich? Propaganda can also be misogynistic or sexist. In World War II, and you'll see, I'll have a slide up, that basically blamed women for the spread of venereal disease in World War II. Propaganda in the 30s and 40s and 50s looks so very amateurish as we compare it today. Our propaganda is more subtle. It's designed, I think, to get you thinking very slowly along that line. So consider these factors why our propaganda is different than 50 years ago. Society was so different. It was far more regimented, and we're conditioned by the Great Depression, World War II, to obey and assimilate. The level of education was far lower, and people in the 40s and the 50s often trusted government far more than they do today, including media outlets. There was one gentleman in the 50s and 60s that was implicitly trusted in the USA and across Canada, and that was Walter Cronkite. Third reason, there was zero social media, unless you count the party line in the rural areas in Canada. The social media did not exist in those days, so not everybody could get online and spread bullshit. Propaganda works particularly well in dictatorships, and I'm going to use North Korea as an example here. North Korea strictly filters information from external sources, so the dictator's message is the only one that is heard. Afghanistan recently banned girls from going back to school beyond the 6th grade. The religious police ruthlessly seek out and punish those who don't toe the Taliban line. All you have to do is look in the pictures between the years of about 95 and 2000. The Taliban were in power in Afghanistan. They used soccer stadiums to hang people publicly. Russia. It's getting harder and harder for Vladimir Putin, but his propaganda machine is at work all over the world. Propaganda also works in democracies, but it has to be subtler. How certain personalities are portrayed in the media can affect the elections. And this, I'm going to use two photos from the 60s. Robert Stanfield, who was the front runner in the Conservative Party and running for Prime Minister, and Pierre Trudeau, the candidate for the Liberal Party. Now, if you'll just notice the difference in the two pictures, you'll see the message. So that's all I have for propaganda now. If there's any comments, you guys remember to leave a thumbs up or leave comments below, because this is going to go to YouTube. And yeah, take care. Don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see. That's it for another edition of Cheryl's Kitchen.